Good evening. Welcome to Divine Speech in African Traditionalism. I am your host, Augustine Ayim Ayela. To seek permission to speak, I rise before my father and my mother, the two individuals who taught me right from wrong. I rise before my grandfather and grandmother, whom I call my first ancestors. I rise before the deities, the land deities, the water deities, and the sky deities. I rise before the goddesses, especially the goddess Ma'at, to give me balance in conducting this interview with this learned person so that we inform and not to offend. I rise before the gods, especially the god Jehuti, the god who taught human beings how to read and write, to endow us with proper speech so that the viewers should not second guess what we are saying. Finally, I rise before the Supreme Being, Amen-Re, whom my tradition calls Nawene, to grant me strength so that I can conduct this interview with wisdom in adherence to Africa's mystery system. With this prayer, I know I'm permitted to speak. My guest today is Mr. Kofi Ayim. Mr. Ayim is a man endowed with the written word. He is a prolific writer and author of Jack Kujo, Newark's revolutionary soldier and first businessman. Jack Kujo was published in 2011. He currently writes and edits Amanla, an African newspaper published in the city. Any of you who remembers Ascenta, another African community newspaper, Mr. Kofi Ayim wrote for that as well. Our meeting today is focused on this brilliantly researched book called Jack Kujo for short. Mr. Ayim, welcome to Divine Speech in African Traditionalism.
Thank you, Brother Ajinibisa.
Tell us a little about yourself, your upbringing, and especially how you were drawn to the written word.
Well, my name is Kofi Ayim, originally from Ghana, but now a resident of West Orange, New Jersey. I basically grew up in a village of Ghana and moved into a town, and then made later to Accra before I left the shores of Ghana. I have two children who live with me, and still not married.
Right.
After the unfortunate passing of my better half.
Right.
But maybe hopefully I'll soon. So basically that's me. Very much interested in reading,
Okay.
culture, history, and politics.
Okay. But what motivated you to write this book? This book. What motivated you? Because there's a lot of research that is in this book. After reading this book, I see that you did a lot of hard work. What motivated you?
Actually, the prime factor was the quest for knowledge, but it had some factors, underpinning factors.
Okay.
For example, I had known a little bit about the civil rights struggles in the U.S.
Okay.
and also the fight for political independence in Ghana
Right.
and Africa.
Right.
All these struggles were being carried out by Africans, or if I may use the word blacks, for just their basic rights
Right.
against white race.
Right.
So I became curious. I said, well, and these are fairly recent events,
Yeah.
the civil rights era and political struggle, independence in Africa.
Right.
So I said, well, if this is what our people had gone through, what did they actually go through during the time of slavery?
Slavery. Right.
And with that, I started reading. I didn't know I was going to write a book.
Okay.
But I just started reading for knowledge until I came across New Jersey Star Ledger.
Right.
That I used to read religiously.
Okay.
There was a column written by the late Charles Cummins.
Okay.
And it was called Knowing Newark.
Knowing Newark.
Yes.
Okay.
And in it, he would write about some slaves and slavery in Newark and New Jersey.
Right.
And then one time I saw a name, Cujo. I said, well, you know, what's in a name?
Right.
That's the title of the chapter 1. I said, no, there's got to be something here now. And luckily for me, like I said, because of my interest in history, which I basically learned myself, and culture, I knew when I read the last name of that Cujo, I had a very good idea that he was from Ghana, on the Gold Coast. And that set me off to start researching.
My goodness. But you know, human beings are spirits. You are from a particular place in Ghana.
Yes.
And this book that you've written, this person is also almost coming from that particular place in Ghana. Is it true?
Well, somehow, yes. We are from the Eastern region, and to be specific, I'm from, my mother is Asante, my father is Ayim.
Okay.
But the type of Asante, we came from the real Asante region.
Okay.
And resettled in the Eastern region.
Right.
Of Ghana now. And of course, Ayim is in the Eastern region.
Right.
They indeed, the Ayim people indeed gave the rebel, if I may put, Asante people land to settle there. Because they were trying to fight the Asante Hene at that time. And when they found out that when the war was getting rough, they had to pack their things and move.
Oh, I see.
So they came, and the Ochihine, which is the king of Ayim,
right,
they requested, and he gave them the land. Now, if you know both areas, Asante and Asante region, and here in Eastern region, the towns follow the towns, the resettled towns. Kofi is grabbing in Asante.
Okay.
Efijase, my town, in the Eastern region, the same thing, it follows grabbing in Asante.
Right.
Then Askore, then Oyoko.
Okay.
The towns just follow one another, like it was in their ancestral home in Asante.
Oh, I see.
So yes, it's not all that wrong, because Jack Cujo came from Ayim to, I am almost 100% sure that's where he came from.
My goodness. Research reveals a lot of information. Sometimes the information is negative, sometimes it's positive. Who would have known that two men of African ancestry, bearing the same names, right, faced off, you know, in wars between the British and the newly, you know, independent United States of America? No matter what researchers like you will not allow African to be written out of history. You know there's something there that is going on that Europeans don't actually think that we contributed anything to civilization. But this book, including others, are awakening Africans that we have done a lot. Because to be a soldier, to be a slave, and at the same time be a soldier, to fight for a cause that you don't know what it is, you can't write such a person out of history.
Well, first, African gave the world its civilization, period.
Okay.
Whether they like it or not, the research records are there for those who want to know. And it developed along the banks of the Nile, the Nile Valley.
Okay.
And if you remember, almost all major civilizations had developed on the roots of rivers, major rivers. You know, and it started actually from the development of the first human being on this earth, which erroneously they called pygmies, but they don't want to be called pygmies.
No.
No, they prefer to be called by their ethnic identities. They have the Bongo, they have the Kra, they have the Mbuti, Efa, Aka. That is how they
recognize themselves.
But then, you know, Europeans would find words which would suit them instead of them learning someone else's, you know, appropriate words. And for maybe lack of their tongue or something, they cannot easily say Cha, an ethnic group of these people.
Right.
I remember there was a song put out by Marian Makeba.
Okay.
And the title of the song was Nkochua.
Okay.
But they can't.
Yeah.
Nkochua. They can't. So they title it the Click Song. Yeah.
Right.
They title it the Click Song. And you know, coming to this, the unfortunate part is this. Now, in this era,
okay,
with so many of our people who have been schooled but not necessarily educated,
right,
we still toe that line. And I'll just give you one example. You're a Ghanaian. You go to Accra, and there's a place called Dankwa Circle.
Okay.
Okay. And the way the Dankwa is written there,
right,
it's written with a Q.
Yes.
D-A-N-Q-U. When in the Tree alphabet, we don't have Q.
Yes.
Okay. Now, where I believe this man, Jakujo, where he came from,
right,
Achim, it's not easy for the white man to say Achim. So they say Akim. And we write it there.
Right.
We still use that. European commentators and American commentators, our soccer star, Asamoah Gyan, listen to how they call him, Gyan.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very soon, you see us following them.
Right.
We'll call him Asamoah Gyan. So, if we allow people to define for us, create for us,
right,
and name for us, and I'm talking about the second principle of the Ngozo Saba,
right,
thanks to Dr. Molani Karenga,
right,
you know, which is Kuji Chagulia, self-determination.
Right.
If we allow others to define for us and create for us and name us and all this, instead of us creating for ourselves and defining ourselves, that's exactly what happens. You know, but yes, we should be able to write our own history. And it's simple, because if someone else, okay, who is not an African, is writing Jakujo, how do you expect the person to make the link, you know, by the name?